outline that Abby made for me was to have something better to research than immigration court is bad or good, and I think that's huge. So I'll give you some principles for that, and then how to qualify what's good enough and really find the best sources. So that's really where I wanted to focus on today. And since you all are apparently all brilliant researchers, I'll just get started. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Can you all tell me that you see it? Just a couple people once you do see it.
I see something about to come up.
Yeah, mine's loading.
Mine's loading also.
So was mine.
My slow computer.
Sometimes Skype gets cantankerous with this many people, so if it does, I have a backup.
There we
I
go.
see it.
Yeah,
I see now.
Oh, yeah. Alright, so I don't need this backup. Go away. Backup. Alright, first of all, so here's my outline. My outline is as follows. 1. Basic setup. 2. Scan. 3. Focus. 4. Consume. Scan, focus, consume is the process of researching. The basic setup are the tools of the trade. I'm on a Mac. Some of you are for sure on PCs, so I'll try to speak both. But if you hear me say something Mac and you don't know its equivalent on PC, ask, because I probably do, and if I don't, somebody else does. So to start with, we want to have a better browser than the defaults on any operating system. So if you're using Internet Explorer, you're not going to be set up to research well. If you're using Safari, you're not set up to research well. Chrome and Firefox are where it's at. Why? Free plugins and ad blockers. Great. So to start with, go and grab I've deleted Firefox, so I'm getting Firefox. And we want to grab it, and it's freeware. Download it and install it. What you'll notice about any browser that has plugins is you can get this little guy here called AdBlock Plus, which means that when you go to websites that have ads, you don't usually see them. And that's a really awesome way to view the internet, because flashy ads are super annoying. They also take time to load, and this protects your computer. Great. So now that Firefox is downloaded, I'm going to install it. La-ti-da. And quit things that take up my internet or might pop up notifications. You probably need to know a couple of shortcuts while we're waiting. If you have a PC, hold down your Alt key, keep it held down, and press Tab a few times. And you will find that you have the ability to switch between windows. You can let go of Alt-Tab and just kind of press Alt-Tab and let go, Alt-Tab and let go. And if you're on a Mac, it's Command-Tab. So same principle. The one thing that's different is on a Mac, it switches between applications, meaning it'll go from, say, Finder to IA Writer to Skype, like this. Whereas usually, at least in the old days on a PC, it would switch between windows, so it would be like whatever's most recent. I don't know if that's true anymore, so it's going to be one or the other. If you go Shift on any of these commands, it goes backwards. If you let go of Shift, it goes forwards. It's kind of useful to know. Now that we have Firefox, I'm going to open Firefox, and we're going to make the basic customizations needed for research. No preferences. No, I don't want you to be my default browser. No, no, no. Okay, first of all, we want to go find our plugin for AdBlock Plus. AdBlock Plus. Chrome has it. Firefox has it. This is a plugin. It is installed. Great. Now I won't see as many ads on the internet. Next, we want to get something called tree style tabs. It's an add-on both for Firefox and for Chrome. I suggest you don't install it on both, but just install it on whichever one you're going to research in the most. So I do most of my research in in Firefox, and that's why I'm installing it on Firefox. Now you'll see what just happened is over here, I've got my tabs on the left. So what that means is when I push Command T or Control T on a whatever, then I can do something like this. I can say, if we're going to be searching immigration courts, okay, so I want to search immigration courts, and I want to look for academic briefings, so I'm going to say, wait, this is doing Yahoo. Ew. Go away, Yahoo. Here we go. Immigration courts. And I want this to be restricted to PDFs and PowerPoints, so I'm going to start with file type PowerPoint, because I'm looking for some kind of briefing or presentation that somebody delivered, and I want it to be at an educational institution. So I'm going to restrict it to .edu domains. So .edu meaning it's an educational institution. The most common site restrictions we use are .edu and then .gov for when you want to have a government website. Okay, and we'll click this one. Let's see what this PowerPoint is. Oh yeah, sometimes you have to wait for the internet. I hate that. We are children of our millennial age. We don't like waiting. Alright. Here is some PowerPoint. And what this is going to do is help us begin our scanning. As we scan, we want to try to find words that are important that we wouldn't have thought of. Because even though we hear it called immigration court, maybe that's not what it's always called by the professionals who discuss it. What if there are different pieces or parts to immigration court that we should discuss? And so we see here, okay, there are interview procedures, there are courtroom procedures, and there are post-hearing procedures. That's important. I'm going to go ahead and, I have a scratch pad here, write down things that seem relevant that maybe aren't. And so post-hearing versus, I'll do this for your benefit. I'll do it in, this is my scratch pad. Okay, hello scratch pad. Courtroom procedures. I'm just writing down stuff that I know I need to look into. Interview procedures and post-hearing procedures. Looks like arrival procedures are actually important too. Think of like how it is when you walk into the court. That's going to bias people or not. And then we go on, we glaze through the PowerPoint. Whee! This is about Colorado, but it's a federal building. The judges. Stuff you need. So this looks like a briefing to lawyers at law school. Is that what you thought a courtroom looked like? Blue paper, very important. So there's something called a merits hearing. I'm going to write that down too. The reason I'm writing this stuff down is one of the best ways to research against a case that makes a policy change is if a policy change, say changed all 5 of these, you might find one as the basis for your objection to the case. So it's good to take a big idea and break it into its pieces so you can attack a piece. Okay, great. Now I'm going to quit PowerPoint. That went away. And I'm going to say, let's just say that we wanted to explore this a little further first before we even clicked anything else here. Then, actually, no. Let me go ahead and open all these links in new tabs. There we go. This is every link I plan to go through as part of my research. Do you see how it's making a little sub-tab up here? I can collapse all that. And I can go start a new one, and I can say, alright, I'm going to search this other thing. I want to also do a journal search. SSRN.com is a great free journal to search. If any of you have LexisNexis, it's better, but I don't have it, so I'm going to use this. And here, I'm just going to start with, I just want to generally search for immigration courts and see what the academic community is writing about this. I definitely want to avoid news sources with a topic like this. This looks promising. Taxing undocumented immigrants separate and unequal without representation. I'm going to open that link. New tab. See, it's a subtopic now. Disparities in asylum adjudication. That's actually sounds pretty good too. This looks good. So hopefully what you're seeing is, in terms of logical process, it's usually best not to really get into the depths of some big journal article before opening up, I don't know, I'd say 5 to 15 different sub-tabs along those lines, and then you can go process them later. In fact, one of the things I like to do is you can even save an entire tree and come back to it some other time. So sometimes you just come and open the tree and explore all the terms and find the resources you want to consume, and then later you focus in on them and consume them. The unconstitutionality of state regulation of immigration through criminal law. Probably not relevant to courts, but I'm going to open it up just in case. That sounds like it might have something. Na. Oh, well, you get enough about how to use tree style tab. So that's how to use tree style tab. It's a really helpful way to not get bogged down with. I mean, look how many tabs you would end up with up here. You'll end up with things you can't even read because they go across the top as you tap. One advantage of using Chrome that if you want to use Chrome is when you close a tab. So let's say I made a big mistake and I close this when it's personal choose Firefox tab and I think, oh no, it's gone. What am I going to do? Command Shift T, because remember Command T opened, Command Shift usually is the opposite. So Command Shift T reopens the tab that I accidentally closed. And I can do that indefinitely. So if I push it a bunch of times, it's going to open a bunch of other stuff. Yay, Command Shift T. I don't think that works here. Let me try it. Close, Command Shift T. Oh, it does work. Yay! Firefox has it too. How you like them apples? So you need to have tree style tab to be able to pursue research. Now let's talk about, let's get off of the basic tools. Oh wait, one more basic tool. You need a text unformatter. And that's because Microsoft is a dingbat, and ever since the last great version of Word that they had was 2003, since then it has this stuff called styling. And you have all probably bumped into this, which is where you paste something in and it's like all these weird shapes and sizes and stuff. And it's okay if each time you paste it, you remember to click this thing and say keep text only, and it removes all formatting, so there's no special code going on. But what happens is if one time you forget, sometimes you can break a document forever. And that's never, ever, ever fun, especially if you've invested a lot of time into formatting it, like making stuff bold and underlined and italics and stuff like that. You don't want to have to undo all that just to figure out why in one part the font is 47 points large, and it also restarted the page numbers at 1 on page 78. That's really lame. So to avoid that, if you're going to end up making your briefs in Microsoft Word or in Google Docs, which has the same flaw to a lesser extent, you want to have an intermediary to paste into. So I use this thing called IA Writer. That's my favorite, but I paid for it because I also write in it. See, it does really brilliant things like count your statistics, or if you want to just look at, say, adjective, well, you'd have to see like something big that had been written. There we go. Adjective, like it'll allow you as a writer to focus on different types of words and go and improve them. There we go. Short ad pitch for IA Writer over. You probably have something like Notepad or Text Wrangler, or even it's just called Text sometimes on a Mac. And if you don't, you can go download one. So if you want to download one, the one I would suggest, Text Wrangler is pretty decent for this. It's a free text editor. The point is that this has zero formatting capability. So if I paste something from the internet, like let's say I wanted to paste this all into Word, here's what's going to happen. So much things. Now I'm going to hit undo, which is Command Z or Control Z. You should know that. I want that instead to go here first. So I usually, to delete something, I'll go Command A, which is also Control A on a PC. Basically, Control, Command are almost all the time interchangeable. So Command A selects all, and then I'm going to paste over it with Command V. Whoosh. Then I'm going to Command A again, select all that, and Command X. Whoosh. And then I'm going to Command Tab and go to where I actually want this to end up, and I'm going to paste it there. So all of that was executed from starting, let's go over that one more time. So we select something, Command C to copy it, Command Tab to go to our text editor, paste there, Command A to select it, Command X to select it, go to our Word document, and paste there. That will save you so much time in formatting if you do that. Any questions on the tools? There, that's all I have for tools before we get into actually principles of research. Hopefully you all know what redo is. So Command in Word, Command Z is undo. So oops, I just deleted that. Command Z, undo. I actually meant to. So I didn't mean to undo. I want to redo. That's Command Y. In other programs, though, like IA Writer, for example, if I Command Z, pushing Command Y doesn't do anything. Because in other programs, it's Command Shift Z, which means the opposite of undo. Command Shift Z. There, it's back. Redo. So either Command Y in Microsoft programs and some other programs, or Command Shift Z is the opposite of undo, which is redo. That also will save you time. Okay, any other questions on using your computer? Come on, Abby. You didn't even know to copy paste before.
Yeah, I know. I'm learning so many more new things, like, just through this. No, I think that's... I don't have any questions on that, but I'm taking notes, so... Anyone else have any questions on how to do that? Any clarification needed?
Abby,
Yeah.
I noticed when we're trying to get to know Google Docs, it's very new to us.
Uh-huh.
And when we would cut from Word and paste into Google Docs to try to, instead of uploading a Word document, because CJ had said he'd rather we use Google Docs. When I cut and pasted from Word into Google Docs, it changed the font size, all of it to like 10 or something. It totally changed the formatting that we had already done in Word. What's the best route to getting things on Google Docs to share it with everyone?
I have a suggestion.
Go for it.
Instead of formatting it all on Word, I would just format it all on Google Docs.
Yeah, that's
That
what
way.
I normally do.
Yeah, so they're saying instead of...
But then if you do that, don't you have to be logged in though to do your work?
Yeah, you have to be online
Yeah, and that's
to
That kind of-
format.
okay.
Yeah, that's honestly the easiest thing, though, unless, Isaiah, you know a trick for not messing up all the formatting. But honestly, what I usually do is just either create it on Word or Docs and keep it on that one.
So you can use Google Docs offline, actually.
Oh, sweet.
Go read this. That's one thing. Then the other thing is you can upload the Word docs here, file, and then well, where to go? Where's my import button?
Okay, but some of the mentors are having a problem where they don't get notified at all when, and that's probably just a problem that mentors will have to deal with. But it's because when they upload it as a Word document on Google Docs, they don't have editing. Access.
I get you. Yeah. Okay, never mind. So, yeah, the preferred method would then be to go straight to Google Docs. Now, with that said, I know why it's doing that when you paste from here. So let me go open up some random brief. What is a random brief? How about NATO year? Oh, criminal justice. There. Whee. Oh, that's just the table of contents. Now we're talking. Okay, so I'm going to go grab clemency reform. So I have all this pretty formatted in my Microsoft Word, and I'm going to go and paste it over to that. So I hit Command A to select all, Command C to copy, Command Tab to go find my Google Doc, Command V to paste, wait maybe 8 days or more. Okay. So here, let me explain to you what just happened in Computerland. In Computerland, over here, we had this thing called a style. And the style is governed by this stuff up here called styles. And you can actually edit styles, which is a complete pain, but you can do it by, you could, for example, right-click on it and modify the style normal and adjust it to different fonts and whatever. And the things that are even the most frustrating is not only do you have format, but you've got each one of these is what's running in the background and what Word overdid and made complicated. So for example, paragraph is what's sometimes making, when you paste something, you're like, why are there so many spaces after the paragraph, but I can't seem to make them go away? That's this guy here. So sometimes there's all this ridiculous spacing, and you have to change it. I'm not telling you to change this. You shouldn't. I'm explaining to you, though, that this, when you paste from here to, say, a Google document also has a style. It's got a style running in the background, and you can change what that style is using the styling options, using this stuff. But what it'll do is it'll automatically say anything that it recognized from this style, say a heading 1 or a heading 2. Over here it's supposed to be blue and underlined, heading 1. This guy way up at the top. But over here, heading 1 is supposed to be large, italics, bold, and black in Arial font. And so it automatically just turned everything here, no matter what these styles were, it just found what the name of the same style is over in Google Docs and automatically changed it. If you have a full-scale disaster, what you can actually do over in Google Docs is find the style and modify the style so that it goes back to the way you had it in Word. That's possible. It takes forever, but it's possible. And it's definitely easier than reformatting every card. Oh, that reminds me of something that most people don't know. Page breaks. You don't have to do this. You don't have to hit enter a bunch of times to make a page break. Instead, you should use Command Shift Enter. Yay! Command Shift Enter is an automatic page break. That's really helpful. I think over here it may be Shift Enter. Let's see. Shift Enter on a Google Doc? Nope, it's Command Shift Enter here too. No, wait, it's Command Enter. Oh, it's Command Enter. Woo! Yeah.
Where's the command button on PCs?
Control.
Oh, it's Control? Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, so Control Enter in Google Doc seemed to do the trick, and then it was Control Shift Enter in Word that did the trick.
Hey, Isaiah,
Yeah.
it's not working for me.
Are you on a
The
PC?
Control Shift Enter. It doesn't work for me on the Windows computer.
In Word or in Google Docs?
Google Docs.
Try just Control Enter.
Ah, there it is.
There you
Okay,
go.
thank you.
Yeah, it's Control Shift Enter in Word, and then in Google Docs it's without the shift. Don't ask me why. They should really, engineers, they make me mad. But that's a really helpful thing to have. There's another thing called widow and orphan control we can talk about some other time, which automatically keeps your paragraphs from jumping off. So like if you had a card like this that is all one paragraph, it would force the entire paragraph to start on the next page. That's super helpful sometimes. What else is there like that? Oh, table of contents. You probably don't know how to use that. Do you think they know? Okay, table of contents. Super important. It works the same in Google Docs as it does in Word, which is, that's what the headings are for. That's one of the purposes of headings. So these headings can actually become hyperlinks. So if I say and this is based on the internet, like the way that you code the internet is there are things that are heading 1, which means the biggest headline possible, heading 2, 3, 4, and so on. So if I want to say, put in my heading 1 that we're talking about immigration courts, and I want to say post-hearing disadvantage, number 1, I don't know, injustice rampage. Okay, that's my first disadvantage. And then I have the words of the disadvantage, blah, 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 blah. Notice that when I hit enter from a heading, it automatically changes up here. Here, I'll do that again slowly. So up here, I'm on a heading. It's heading 1. When I hit enter, it assumes that I only wanted heading 1 to be 1 line. Boom. And so it automatically changes. Hold on. There we go. Hit enter. It automatically changes to normal text most of the time. Sometimes if you do it a different way, though, if I were to type heading 1 here, stuff, 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 and then hit enter, it's going to stay heading 1. Then I go back after stuff, and I hit enter, and now it's back to normal text. You kind of have to keep an eye on it. Then we'll go ahead and make some headings too, okay? So let's say that we're really brilliant debate theoreticians, and so we have the DA1 links, or let's call it, yeah, the links. And then we'll have some cards, so insert evidence. And then we have uniqueness. If you don't know these words, don't worry about it, it doesn't matter. The point is that I'm saying anything that's heading 2 is underneath of the heading 1 up here. So it's kind of like I'm building a hierarchy. And I'll go do it again, and I'll have heading 1 again. Next thing, we're going to have a national uprising disadvantage. So this is really DA2. There we go. And now it has its own, and then I'm going to go copy this because it'll retain that formatting. And now we have enough stuff to make a table of contents. Great. We're going to go to Insert menu. No, wait. Yes. No. Hold on. It's in a different spot in... No,
that's right. It's down on the bottom.
There it is. Okay, Insert Table of Contents. Yay! So I'm going to click that button. And the button automatically reads the headings to create this sweet table of contents. And now it knows that when I click that, I wish to go to that thing. Whoa. That's really good. Over in Word...
I have a question about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you able to change the formatting on that or add page numbers like you would on a brief, or does it have to stay the same?
Let's see. I usually do my tables in Word, so I'll have to figure this out. La la la. Now I'm going to Google it. Improve Google Docs table of contents page numbers. Bummer.
But it does do it on Word.
Yeah, it does it on Word. On Word it's easy. So if I'm over here on Word, so let's go ahead and Command A over here, Command V over here, and notice how it changed all this stuff because this is what it thinks my headings one are supposed to sort of look like. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this guy. And I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to insert index and tables. Oh, that's so hard to find. Index and tables. And under tables, there's this option called table of contents, and then it has these different formats.
Sweet.
And you can select any which one of them. So there's the most boring one.
Oh, that's so easy.
Oh man. Okay, so this is awesome. So this shows you the gooberiness of Microsoft here. What just happened is it retained that some of these links actually pointed to the Google Doc, and so from Word it opened the Google Doc, illustrating previous point about why you don't want to paste from one to the other that much. All right, cool.
Abby,
Yeah.
are we allowed to do this with like briefs and stuff, or do we have to follow the formatting?
No, there's no formatting rules for table of contents. Just for like the actual quote.
The evidence, you can't use headings. You have to use normal text.
You can for your taglines, and you can like change the heading on. I think you can to be like Times New Roman 12.
Okay,
It'll still notice it as being a heading, and it'll still format it that way.
got it.
So normal text is only the quote itself, right?
Yeah. But they're talking about like because they want like the tagline to be in the table of contents, and we usually require that to be Times New Roman, bolded, font size 12.
Yeah.
So, but you can change that, right? You can.
Yeah,
change,
here, let's do it. Okay, so I've got some tags. So tag one, tag, however you do it. Okay, criminal courts. Oh wait, immigration courts failed in Puerto Rico and Guam. Then they'll have another tag called immigration courts. Oops, immigration courts. Command B there. Didn't work in Orange County, California. All right, great. 2 tags, and then let's assume that there's a citation with important info and a link. Oh, I didn't tell you all about navigating with your keyboard. So notice I'm not doing any clicking. I'm using the arrow keys on my keyboard. And when I hold arrow and shift, it helps select things. So I'll hold shift actually, and then arrows. So I'll hold shift, and I can arrow right, I can arrow left, I can arrow up, I can arrow down. This actually works on the internet too. So if I'm over here and I started selecting this, and I'm like, oh no, I let go before I got the period, and I wanted the period in the quotation mark, I can hold shift and hit right 2 times. And now it's there, and then I can hit Command C. While you're at it, if you want to say select an entire line because I wanted to change this, okay, so let's go back to it's not bold, I want it to be bold. I hit shift and I hit left arrow, but that would take forever. I can hold command or control on your PC, and I can hit shift, command, left arrow, and it goes all the way. It selects the whole line. That's super handy. If you go up and down with shift and command, it'll select paragraphs at a time. So anyway, that's a really super helpful thing for quick formatting is to do that. And then if you know your command B, command C, V, what am I trying to say? Bold, underline, and italics, command B, U, and I, then that gets really fast. Okay, then there's the quotation itself. I am a happy quote and about we always use quotation marks. Okay, and the other one has that too. Great. So the question is, how do we turn these into headings but retain their styling? So first of all, we have to know where in the brief they are. This is the number one thing that will frustrate you. So you don't know yet if we have heading 1 for brief title, heading 2 for subsections, heading 3 for sub-subsections. Who knows how many subsections? So I say choose something safe like heading 4 for your tags and just always use heading 4 for tags. Or 3. Let me think about that. What do I usually say? Yeah, I think actually I use 3. I use 3. So I use heading 3, and I don't go deeper than that with anything. So here is a heading. We're going to create heading 3. I'll just click it up here, and it turned it blue. Oh, nuts. And then I do this, and by the way, since I am on a Microsoft program, I can hit Command Y on something new I've selected, and it repeats whatever I did last. Whoa. So I hit Command Y, and it just does the same thing again. Speaking of which, you all know how to format Paint, right?
No,
Okay.
I have no idea what that
All
is.
right, check this out. So if you have, let's say this, and then we're going to go turn these to, they were wrong. Okay, so these 2 tags are wrong, and they're different kinds of wrong. There we go. All right, I want this style to be on these 2. There's this nifty button called Format Paint. If you do it once, it's going to copy your formatting. Instead of copying your content, it copies just your formatting. If I double-click it, it'll do that indefinitely. So I'm going to double-click it. Now it's on. Now I just go select this and select this. And now they are my beauties.
And all you had to do was select it, and it gave it that formatting?
Yeah. In fact, you could just click it, and it will.
Wow.
Yeah, Format Paint. Super useful.
And that's only on Word, right?
No, you got Format Paint over in Google Docs. So over here, let me think. It's this guy right here, Paint Format.
Okay.
So if I wanted to go ruin whoever's case this is, this looks like Lily Stacy's case from Florida. So I just hit Copy Format thing, and then I'm going to go ruin her citation and this. Whoa, it all just got ruined. But then I'm going to hit Command Z, and it's unruined, so we're good. All right, back to here. So we have all this stuff, and we want to insert a table of contents. Insert, index and tables. This here, levels, shows you how many levels of headings you're going to show in your contents. So sometimes it might be set to 2, and it might not show number 3. Sometimes you just want at the very top, like you can have 2 tables of contents. You can have one that's heading 1, so you can just see the sections, and then one that's everything, so you can see the tags too. Okay, there it is. Hello, little table of contents. Now what we wanted to do was make this be bold like it's supposed to, right? So we're going to go up here, and on heading 3, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to select all 4 instances. Back to the beauty of computers. Like the reason that they built these sorts of features is so we could do stuff like this, which is actually pretty cool. It's just hard to find. Now, I can do one thing is I can change whatever it's supposed to be to, so I can go do Times New Roman, and I can say I want it black, and it's already 12. Okay, so technically I did that correctly. But next time that I enter a new thing, I am a new tag. When I select heading 3, we are going to be frustrated because now it's blue again. I have to go remember to do that. So better way is I'm actually going to modify the style. Modify heading 3. I want it to be Times New Roman 12. Oh, I didn't make it black. Even though it sure looks black to me. Okay, there we go. Now, all new. So I'm going to do it again. I am yet another new tag. And cite and quote. I'm going to select this. And I'm going to go click heading 3. And now heading 3 is what I wanted. Then I go back up here and I right click on this. Then I say update field. And I can either do just the page numbers or the whole thing. I want the whole thing. My new tags have been added. Yay. Well, there we go. Any questions on tables of contents and things?
No, but you just saved me a lot of time.
You're welcome. If you made your evidence site compliant, it would be even more time saving because each of you could build your own custom style. And you could say, on my briefs, I like tags to be purple and all caps and giant. And
I
when
know
you
some
copied
people
and
like that.
pasted someone else's brief to yours, as long as theirs used the right words, like it was using styling, it would automatically change to your style when you looked at it and their style when they looked at it, which is pretty ridiculously cool. And also a complete waste of time. Because we want to actually research. Well then. Barring any questions, let's go research. Okay. So talking about how to research effectively, let's get a couple things out of the way. Thing one. People don't usually write X subject is bad articles. There are several reasons for that. The first one is that oftentimes a affirmative case is proposing something newish, which means that it can't have been baddish yet, because it didn't happen yet, without timey-wiminess. So sometimes people aren't even going to have articles like that, so we'll have to think what's called analogically instead of logically. We want to come at it from the side and use analogy rather than approaching it with an it's bad thing. Second of all, is bad and are bad are ways that debaters and children speak, but are usually not ways that professional writers write. Instead, they use better adjectives and adverbs and stuff. They use better language. So we're not going to get much fruit from that kind of a search. Instead, we're going to have to do the hard work of reading and searching for inside of documents items that actually provide us valuable fruit for argument. Okay, so that's thing one. We're not going to get there by just searching for something is bad or good. Thing two. The best way to form a brief is to form an entire strategy. We don't want to just have, here's this brief of all these quotes on the subject. We want to actually think through the issue enough in our research that we're proposing this is a viable strategy against the case. Now, it may not be the only strategy against the case. There could be others, but this brief is this strategy against the case. So, in order to get there, we're going to, as we go along, have to collect strategic input from a variety of sources. And the hardest part about that, and why it's a great real-life skill, is as you're reading, you won't yet know in the earliest part of reading whether or why this is relevant yet. But it's going to probably be useful. And so I like to think of, think three, the 90-10-10 rule. You're only going to save 10% of what you read. And you're only going to actually quote in around 10% of that. But it's valuable information. Because sometimes you're just going to be able to say something like there are 12 circuit courts. Because you found out through reading that there are, and maybe you saved it so that as you're sitting there at the table and you're listening to the other team, you're connecting dots and you realize that a bunch of what you saved helps you make the argument in the round, but you don't need to use it as a quotation in the round. So don't view it as a waste to have a large brief that you're not going to use all of. And don't let people tell you that that's poor researching. That's not poor researching at all. Context is what the best debaters use to describe and understand a topic so that they can argue it at nationals with fewer quotes but much knowledge. Okay, and thing four, it's helpful to contrast against a specific version of a case. One of the hardest things about research is when you're researching in this kind of, go research about immigration courts. If you don't even know what people are saying about immigration courts, then you have what I call double discovery duty. That means you first have to discover what an AF would say, and then you have to discover what about that isn't right. That's a whole lot of work, and it takes forever. If we can, as brief assigners, Abby, we should assign things that we actually know something about, or not assign a brief. So there are two kinds of research tasks. One is to find what an AF would say, or create a generic briefing on problems in a given topic. Two is to create a strategy against something the AF is saying. And we have to actually know what that is. So if we can't assign number 2, then we need to assign number 1. The mistake is to assign both number 1 and 2 at the same time. That's too hard. And misleading. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, let's tackle immigration courts. Do you all know a specific case on immigration courts and some things people say about it?
Increased judges,
Why?
because there's tons of backlog.
Okay, AF says that a problem is backlog. What are some other problems that they think they're solving?
All the current judges won't be rushed anymore because they'll have other judges to take off their load.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Okay, so immigration bogs down other types of justice. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, any other things in terms of plan that we've heard of?
There's one plan to switch around the clerks and to give immigration judges more clerks.
Great. And then, does anyone know of a place that's been tried and worked that AF usually points to, or any of their great examples?
They usually bring up just negative examples of backlog or too much responsibilities right now.
Okay, and do we know of one?
Yeah, they use one example kind of out of context that says one judge goes through immigration cases in 7 minutes because there's so much to handle.
Okay.
That's the main one that people use.
Okay. Very good. So you all see that we can create number 2, and we don't have to do number 1. Yay. Let's do that. We're starting to build an outline. When we outline our research, we want to have answers to the things that AF says. Sometimes you write answers to like that, and sometimes people do it like this, A2. They both mean the same thing, but you're identifying in the brief for everyone, this is something AF might say that we have an answer to. So whatever is going to be under this is going to be an answer to that. Great. So what we want to do is, for our table of contents for the brief, make sure that everything we know about, we actually go and research that. And I hope you all can see, going back to thing 1, it's going to be far easier for us to understand the problem of backlog than it is to say, do immigration courts fix backlog? Because it sounds like AF doesn't even have a good example of immigration courts fixing backlog or increasing judges fixing backlog. We have to go understand this. And that's where we use debate theory. So the better our debate theory is, the more targeted our research will be. So when we look at a problem, we're looking for root causes. So we want to find root causes. We want to make sure we look for structural causes. We want to look for attitudinal causes. And we want to look for existential causes. And if you don't know why, all of that has nothing to do with research. That has to do with understanding the stock issue of inherency, which is structural, attitudinal, and existential. So when you understand the pieces of critical thinking associated with debate theory, then your research is going to be smarter. Okay, immigration, bogging down other types of justice. Same. So anytime there's a problem, we want to explore that. What we're going to find is, oftentimes, when we find root causes, they may be things that increasing judges won't help solve. And if we have that, we've got the basis of sometimes a solvency argument, and oftentimes even more than that, the basis of a disadvantage. So we're going to keep our minds open to discover that as we explore these problems and see what other authors say about them. Okay, increasing judges, we need to, we know that we're going to need to find examples of more judges equaling better justice, and we know we're still on case here that we're going to want to look at exactly how many do we need, sorts of things. Less important, but still worthwhile, and we can repeat that for the clerks. Okay, and then last of all, on this, which I'm going to move up now before the plan, because it's really just a problem. Do that. Great. So far, this is the outline. This is my research plan. As I build it, I always want to build off case. Who knows what off case means?
It's basically arguments that don't fall under those points.
Exactly. So we are looking for hints of disadvantages, hints of solvency objections, and hints of counterplans. Those are the primary types of off-case arguments. We also could look for topicality. For example, if we found that, I don't know, immigration is not regulated by the justice system at all, which isn't true, so probably not going to find anything there. There we go. Now this is our full research plan. And what I want to tell you is save the off case for last, but write stuff down as you go. In other words, as you learn about the issue, you're going to just apply this 90-10-10 rule. You're going to find people writing about stuff that you didn't know. And as they write about it, you're going to find disadvantages. And you're going to say, oh, you should never do it this way. Or it's this other deeper issue in the way that immigration court works at all. That's the problem. Or you might end up, like me, saying that we're even asking this question is the problem. Don't blame your poor immigration enforcement system on your court system. That courts are having this problem merely illustrates failure in the other part of government. We don't need to fix immigration as at the court level. We need to fix it at the borders. That might be a viable strategy you come away with as you explore the root causes here. In fact, that's probably what your strategy might be. Okay, any questions about the research plan? This is what we're going to go execute. So the rest of my talk is really going to just be about how to find good sources. It would probably take, I would guess, 4 hours. This is about 4 hours worth of work to go through the whole research plan. So any questions about the research plan?
No, that's good. I think that's what most of us struggle with is coming up with something before we actually start Googling.
Mm-hmm. And this is where the tree styles are going to help you. So now I'm going to go. I think I should just nix all this because it was really just an example. Oh man, but this is a study of asylum adjudication. I'm totally keeping this. Anytime I get really curious, I usually read it. You all know what a journal is, right? Who can tell me why a journal is better than an article? Nobody?
Nope.
Journals. Journals have a couple of advantages to articles. One is they're what's called peer-reviewed. Okay, we'll call this thing 5. Use journals. They're peer-reviewed. That means that the facts are debated internally before publication. Turn syntax off. There we go. So you've got, in this example, the Stanford Law Review. Understand that these 3 people competed very hard to even write for the Stanford Law Review in the first place. Once they were there, they researched and wrote this article, which is going to be stinking long, as in this long. And then they competed to have it published. 1 out of every 20 proposed journal articles is published. It's highly competitive. Their peers are going to review it. So when someone says, I was the editor of the Stanford Law Review, or if you were Barack Obama, you were the editor of the Harvard Law Review, that means that they took these people's proposed articles and reviewed them and threw them back and said, nope, this, that, problems. And these people made a new draft and tried to fix all those problems and tried to get this article published. That's kind of how journals work. So being published in a journal has massive amounts of credibility compared to an article where the role of an article is try to get eyeballs on this paper to sell our advertising. Journals are not publishing to sell advertising. And so their incentives are better too. Their incentives are the world of ideas, not get eyeballs on adverts. Which is a big problem with news because they'll say more outlandish things to get all of your parents to read them. WorldNet, Daily, Drudge Report, and so on. And CNN, and Fox, and all those guys. So the more crazy it sounds, the more likely they are to read it. Therefore, the advertising revenues that we get by promising to advertising company, hey, this is how many eyeballs are going to look at it, those revenues go up. Here we want to be engaged in the world of ideas, and that's the academic community where these people don't have that incentive. Okay, next, and I guess the last reason before we go, take forever on journals. Journals have gajillions of footnotes. So one of my favorite things to do, especially in finding a case, is find some kind of journal that advocates my case. And you see how here we are. The footnotes are half the page. And I'm not saying read them right now at all. I'm saying that the amount of research that goes into these things is staggering. And when you find one that's a complete goldmine, looking up the, in this case, over 210 footnotes is going to provide you a wealth of knowledge and information into how the best researchers research and what they're looking at. And you're going to find very little CNN and Fox News in here. You're going to find really awesome, credible sources. This is the level of research that you want to be capable of doing after your time in high school debate. So the article is very credible, and you learn a lot from the footnoting. Great. So that's why you should read journals. What's not cool about journals? Well, what's not cool is they're long. And so the best thing you do with a journal is you start by going to the table of contents. Actually, just for kicks and giggles, let's take a look at the creds of these people, because usually journal authors at better journals have credentials like this. Professors of law.
Yeah.
Yo.
I have to go.
Cool.
Thanks for the lecture.
You're welcome.
Adios.
Adios. After a while, crocodile. So here we have this table of contents, which they used in Microsoft Word. They built a table of contents. We can look and say, what do we want to focus in on? And so this is, now we have scanned. We're going to focus and then consume. We're going to say the asylum process, the immigration courts, page 308. That's something we want to read. There's a whole thing on immigration courts, 325 through 339. We're going to read that. Probably less important for us on the immigration appeals, Court of Appeals, key findings, but we're starting to realize there may be something about appeals, and I'm going to go write that down on my research plan. Actually, no, I'm not, because people aren't fixing an injustice. Okay, I'll skip that. If they were fixing injustice, I would argue that there can be an appeal, but they're not. So I'm going to go look for anything else around how long it takes. Oh, disparities with particular offices and federal appeals courts, 372. And disparities from region to region. See, this is great. All these key findings. Usually in a journal article, they'll have some section near the end where they say, and this is a policy that could work to fix all this. And that's where you get great case ideas from. And you also find reasons not to do AF case ideas if they were just making it up. Like they went and read CNN and found, oh, it's slow, and there's this hyperbolic example that I found. Therefore, I'm going to do what pops to my head and increase the number of judges. You're going to see actual real proposals and engage in the world of ideas here. So let's go look at some of this. The regional asylum offices. The immigration courts. There we go. Let's go look at 325 down here. Anybody know why this is page number 325 instead of like page number 15? Why do the page numbers start so high?
Is it because you have to get through all the footnotes first?
Good guess. No. It's because this is all published in a real library somewhere, in a journal. And if you go to a library and look in the journals section, you'll see they look like books, because they kind of are. And so this article is going to be one of about usually 4 to 10 that appears in a journal. So this is on page 325 of the journal in hard print. That's really important to understand because giving in the citation, you're required to provide info so somebody could go find this article again. The correct info in this case is actually the page number and the issue number because you don't really have a link to this PDF.
Is the issue number the SSRN number?
No, that's the Social Science Research Network's database number. So the issue number is Stanford Law Review, volume 60:295, I think. Yeah. Yep, okay, volume 60. This 295 is confusing me. But it's however they do their own internal citation process. So what we would do as a debater is we would cite it as follows. Here, we'll build the citation real quick. I'm going here to remove formatting. Here, I want to grab their credentials. So I want to say professor of law, next guy, probably the same thing. What was he? Ooh, he's got more than that. Professor of law and Deputy Director of the Institute for the Study of International Migration. Sweet. And then Philip Schrag, who is the Professor of Law. Okay, so he's also Professor of Law. Great. Alright, and then we would go with Stanford Law Review. Oh, there we go. Volume 60, Issue 2. Now we're good. Stanford Law Review, and then we put the date, so this is going to be 2007. And then we'll say Volume 60, Issue 2. And then pages 295 to 411. Okay. Then we grab that, put it in our document, italicize it. Do you all do the little underlinings things, Abby?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would suggest 3 professors of law. And I personally am highly efficient with this. So I would say Nogales, Schoenholtz, and Schrag. You're required to quote that, and that. There we go. And that should all be Times New Roman, right? Yay. That's the proper way to cite a journal.
Perfect.
All right, back to this. That's a good picture. Okay, immigration courts, I just saw it. So this is only about asylum seekers. The bulk of the court proceeding, which can last for several hours, is devoted to a de novo hearing on evidence of eligibility for asylum. Alright, skip that. I actually have a friend here that I play soccer with who is an asylee from Sierra Leone. Wow, check out these graphs. Different regional breakdowns of who's more likely to grant asylum or not. That's amazing. But that's not what we're looking for. The immigration courts. Huh, I didn't know that. Federal rules of civil procedure or evidence don't apply there. So you see, this is the 90-10-10 rule at work. I'm not going to save that there are 53 immigration courts in 24 states and blah, 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 but this is helping me research this. Now I realize, okay, so there's around 200 to 300 immigration judges, at least as of 2007, and they are assigned according to the asylum seeker's geographic residence. Wow. Wow, you get a death sentence if your case is wrongly denied. Well, this is something that's jumping out at me too. Is I had initially thought this was all going to be about, Hispanic immigration, but it's clearly about more than that. Case in point. Wow. So if you're Chinese and you went to Atlanta, you had a 7% chance of being granted asylum versus 47% nationwide. So what are we starting to see? Well, in terms of our research plan, we're starting to see, I'm going to call this actually, the problem's different. There may be backlog too. But when we talk about other types of justice, I'm going to say that there's a racism issue. We're starting to learn something. Wow, so if you're Chinese, go to Orlando. Amazing quote.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
We see APCs, often that abbreviation in there. If you have an abbreviation in a quote, just so your judges know what you're talking about, can you, in brackets, in the middle of the quote, spell out what an APC is, or do you have to do that somewhere else in your brief?
You can do it in the quote, so you would do it as follows. So let's go ahead and grab this, and I'm going to add it to this, even though it's not perfect, so we can see how this would look over here. Oh, we've already got quotes on it. Okay, so what did APC stand for, by the way? Asylum something something. Anybody remember? Asylee producing countries. Wow. Didn't know. Asylee. Oh, sorry, I just did that in the wrong spot. Here we go. Asylee producing countries. Okay, then here you would say, actually up here, brackets added by whoever did it. So then if you were, let's say you're underlining the quote, this is a okay way to do it.
Thank you.
Great question.
Hey, Isaiah and Abby, I used to go too. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
You're welcome. Yeah, I guess we better go ahead. It sounds like this was planned to be an hour, and I have blown through it. But we, I guess, spent more time on the tools than on the actual research. But hopefully you all kind of see that research isn't something that you take head on by just saying whatever topic, it's bad. You build a plan, and then you go through it, and you see what information is out there, and you're going to be surprised with stuff like we never would have even thought of asylum being related. But it turns out asylum is going to become an issue, and we're going to try to make a solvency issue out of it as we keep going. And that's the way research should work, is we should find stuff we didn't even know would happen. And not because somebody's talking about whether or not we should increase judges, but because people are talking about the issue. And when you understand the issue, you'll be able to make strategies and arguments. So if there is to be a part 2, then it sounds like it should probably be scheduled later.
Yeah.